Hi, I go by the name of Podgy. You're looking for a job, looking for work. Hi, I go by the name of Podgy Figures, and today we got a special guest on Life of an Entrepreneur. She goes by the name of Leanne. She owns her own laundrette, and today she'll be sharing her journey with us. I want to welcome to the show Leanne. Hi Leanne, how are we doing?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. How's your week been?
It's been busy,
Yeah.
really busy. There's so much going on. I mean, I'm sure you probably hear this a lot from business owners. You're wearing so many hats. But yeah, I love it. I mean, it's great, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
No, that's good to hear. The number one question is, what is a laundrette business?
So that's our particular business is quite a bit of a hybrid business. We bought it as essentially it's a self-service laundrette first and foremost. So people come in and use the machines, as and when they want. But we have sort of turned it into, as I say, more of a kind of a hybrid business where we also do collection and delivery for people. So we do, but all sorts of customers, from family, domestic to businesses to kind of towels for salons. And then we also do linen and laundry for Airbnb hosts. So it very much depends on, it's really hard to define a laundrette in this day and age in many ways, because like any business, you have to kind of evolve and try and we're trying to create a sustainable business essentially. I'm not pretending we're really trying to stream ahead with modern times, but we're trying to create a business that's sustainable. So we have these sort of several different elements to our business. Other laundrettes, depending on their market, will work purely just self-service. And then, of course, you have like bigger commercial laundries, which will just do the really big kind of sheets for hotels and that sort of thing. So we are sort of like a small business, but we're able to do three or four sort of, I suppose, elements to ensure that we have decent cash flow and predictable, sustainable business.
I like how you explain that and describe that like a hybrid business. So it's like it's a laundrette, but it's doing multiple different things under that one umbrella. Like my washing machine broke down the other day. It was probably about 3 weeks ago, and I had to go to the laundrette. But when I was like in my early 20s, I didn't really know how to use a washing machine, and I was living by myself, and the laundrette was my go-to. Every Sunday, I'm there with the big bag, and I'm there, and I would have a newspaper, and I would chill. You know what I mean? And I would hope like when I hear hybrid, like it would have been amazing if there was I could have got a coffee in there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and maybe got a little cake or something like that. That would have been great. So yeah, I like the way you describe that hybrid. Let's get straight to it, people. I go by the name of Podgy Figures, and I want to thank everybody that's been watching my channel. However, I need you to subscribe to my channel. I need you to press that like button.
It's the thing is, we've had to think a little bit differently with the business, because there's loads of really positive things about the business that we bought. It was really run down. It was an old business. And it already had good machines in place, and it had the setup in place, and it's got, loads of great things, like it's got free parking right next to it. But the disadvantage with our particular business is it is quite hidden away. So it's part of the reason that we kind of have to work at getting the business in, because if we purely relied on self-service, things would go really quiet over the summer, because of course a lot of people are, using their washing lines and things like that. So we've had to really think quite creatively in terms of the services that we can offer, in order for several reasons. Like I say, to help balance out the quiet time, so we always have regular, sustainable cash flow. But equally, there's a point where I think, is trying to. We obviously want the business to last well into the future, not only from the fact we obviously, we make an income from it, but, we don't want to lose another kind of business, have another empty unit. We want the business to last for years and years to come. So we've had to think, like I say, really creatively and work to create several different elements to it and make the best of the equipment that we've got. We've got these machines there. So it's like, why not have them running as much as possible? Why would you just have them running when it's self-service? Why not have them running doing collection and delivery? And then you're maximising those machines during the quiet periods. So that's kind of why we've ended up having to run that business. And I suppose I run the business in that way. And I suppose in some ways it kind of is something that I try and emphasize, is that we didn't buy this laundrette that was perfect and ready to go. It's kind of like, look, you can actually, hopefully I try to show that you can take this really old kind of rundown business and you can turn it into something that's profitable. It doesn't just have to be this one element that's, purely self-service and that's it. And if it's busy, then it's great, and if it's quiet, then you're really worrying about trying to pay your bills. If you think creatively and put a bit of work in, I won't lie, you can create lots of ways of earning money, and like I say, create something that's profitable and sustainable.
Quick one. I know you're enjoying the show. This is only going to take a minute. Everybody keeps asking, Podge, where do I get the merchandise? Like, where can I get it? All right. If you see this on any platform, if it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, any social media, just message me. You can get this merch. You can get this hat. You can get this tea. I even got some cups. Yeah. And I got different flavors. So I got this flavor here and I got this flavor here. Just message me, man. I got you. You mentioned about your business is in a hidden location. Like, how important is location for a laundrette business?
Massively. I mean, and like I say, it's something that, it's why I'm quite honest about our situation. We're in a really busy suburb, in a very highly built up area, but on the sort of parade of shops, it's quite set back. So unless you sort of go looking for it, you wouldn't necessarily find it. And I think that's the sort of disadvantage with our little shop. And for that reason, that's like I say, it's part of the reason we've had to think a bit more creatively. And that's worked out really well, because like I say, it's also meant that we aren't just reliant on one income source. And I'd really emphasize that I think most businesses these days should probably be thinking on trying to make sure they're sustaining income in as many different ways as they can. But if I were to start again, or I were to buy another one, location is the first thing I would think of, because it's one less thing for you to kind of worry about. It's not, the first thing that we sort of had to do once we bought that business was really kind of get people in, really tell everyone that we were there. Whereas if you've already got a really good location to start off with, that's one of the problems solved. I'm not saying you don't have to work at it after that point, but if you get a good location from the start, then it's, you're in a great place. Those particular laundrettes will probably be priced accordingly though. So you'll pay probably a bit more for those sorts of locations.
Yeah. No, it's understandable. Locations is an interesting one because you'll get that walking in trade, somebody who just kind of walks past and says, oh, there's a laundrette I can kind of use and stuff like that. But like for rent and bills, it will be a lot more higher you'll be paying. Yeah. So you kind of have to find the balance. If I wanted to start this kind of business, what kind of money would I need?
So we paid £20,000 for our laundrette, and I'm always banging on about that in the stuff that I kind of do on social media. It was literally £20,000, and that was a deal that was agreed with the laundrette, the woman who owned the laundrette. So it's leased. That particular part of it is leased, but that's essentially it. We've paid for the unit already, sort of set up, ready to go, machinery. Good machinery in place, modern machinery in place. So for a lot of people, £20,000 might sound like quite a lot of money, but for a business, a tangible business that you can kind of, like I said to you, you don't want those machines sitting there idle. You can do anything with it. You've just got to go out and find your customers. It's relatively easy to do. I wouldn't pretend it's really, really easy, because you've got to find your startup money, but that's how much we paid. And I don't think that's it's not that's not an uncommon thing. You know, we've been we're looking at buying other laundrettes, and that sort of money is not truly exceptional. You know, I wouldn't say they're particularly easy to come by being that cheap, but you'll find them around 30 to 40 pounds, maybe 40,000, sorry, pounds. And God, if you get a laundrette for 40 pounds, that'd be great. You know, I've seen quite a few for kind of 30 to 40,000. Again, they're on lease basis, which isn't a bad thing because it's cash flow. So I'd say it's not a particularly hard thing to do. If you started off with nothing, you would probably be able to raise that money if you really wanted to. You know, it's not a amount of money that you couldn't raise somehow.
So you see the 20,000, is that with the equipment and the whole base of it for 20,000?
Yeah. Yeah, because, and again, I appreciate some people might disagree with this. You know, when you buy a business, and it very much depends on the type of business you buy. You know, there's particularly with laundrettes, and I talk about these in terms of the sort of the old-fashioned sort of sense. A lot of them will be cash businesses still. They will be businesses that have been in families for maybe a couple of generations. So they will be more sort of hobby type businesses. And as a result, they won't generally have great records or paperwork because they've been cash businesses. There may be some that are like that. I wouldn't want to sort of make a sweeping statement, but generally, they are quite, because of the fact they're quite old businesses. So you've got not a lot to really purchase in terms of goodwill. You know, if you're going to spend money on an actual business, you want there to be contracts in place. You want there to be proof of customers. And of course, with a lot of these cash businesses, there isn't a lot of that, particularly if they're self-service. You know, it's not like you're going to buy that business and you're going to have guaranteed income. So for that reason, essentially, the deal that we struck was based on really the value of the machinery. That was really what it came down to, because there were no contracts in place in terms of regular customers or contracts with any big local companies. So all we paid for was essentially, the deal we struck was like, look, okay, we'll give you that for the value of the equipment. And that was how we basically did the deal.
I was excited to talk to you about a laundrette business because it's a traditional business, and it's one of those business that, like, you can get contracts with hotels, and obviously you get, like, if you're near like a campus, you can get your students coming in, and a lot of people these days as well who are renting HMOs and got rooms and that, they like to use laundrettes. So there's still a big market for laundrettes. So that's why I was happy to speak to you about the laundrette business. And for somebody out there who's got a budget to purchase a laundrette, what type of money can they make?
Okay, well, the world, it sort of genuinely is your oyster. It very much depends on your capacity. You've got to, in some ways, we're a little bit restricted by the space that we have. We'd like to take on more Airbnb customers, and there's a limit to what you can take because you've got to have space in the back to process it. You've got to have like your ironing equipment and all that sort of thing. So it very much depends on what your target market is and what your setup is in your laundrette. There you can make, and again, it also depends on your ability in terms of what work you want to put in. There really is sort of scope to really develop a laundrette as far as you really want to take it, as we in some ways have sort of proven. We have a whole variety of different customers, and it's everything from, like I say, your Airbnb hosts to local, hair salons and all that sort of thing. And in any town, there will be lots of those sorts of businesses. So it's a case of doing your, good marketing and, focusing on those basic things in order to get out there and actually go and visit those customers and market to them. So I wouldn't, I couldn't tell you a sort of a definite figure, but there's always plenty of business out there. And it just depends on really going out there and getting it and putting the work in. You do have to kind of be quite relentless and, keep banging on doors. And and building your relationships like any other business. I think also, just as a sort of a slight caveat to that, is I do think that over the next sort of, particularly as with what's been going on in Iran and the energy crisis, my feeling is that laundrettes will probably actually have a bit of a comeback. If I mean, by some people's opinions, they're very, like I say, quite old-fashioned and dated businesses. But I think that there'll be a bit of a resurgence because they're so efficient. They're so much more efficient to do people's laundry than home machines. So I think that there's possibly a point in the future, if things continue as they are, where people will realise that if they just take a massive load of their week's family load of washing down, they can get it done, for a lot less than what they do at home and much quicker time. So I think there's plenty of scope, and I think the future is actually pretty exciting for in the laundry industry.
I like the way you broke that down, and I like the way you even gave a blueprint as well to say, like, if you're in a town, collaborate with the other people in the town, go visit their shops, explain to them you're the local laundrette, what's opened up, and you're prepared to do these deals, these prices. And I even think bring it back a bit as well, get some flyers done, post them through some doors, and let them know, like, maybe if you live in a certain area, you get a certain discount price and stuff like that as well. Let's get straight to it, people. I go by the name of Podgy Figures, and I want to thank everybody that's been watching my channel. However, I need you to subscribe to my channel. I need you to press that like button. Well, so I think that's really good. And I think with laundrettes, I never thought that business was going anywhere. As I said, my washing machine broke down last month. I was there sitting in there and I was like, yeah, like, and this was a nice one at seating area. But what I liked about your hybrid one is you can get coffee in your one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's big. Like, you can get a coffee. And another thing you got as well. Tell us about the post box.
The in-post box.
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to what I was saying before. We had to think quite creatively in terms of the business makes money on self-service, okay, but it just about kind of it gets by, and it's all about the fact that you want sustainable regular income, because it can be like a bit of feast and famine. In the winter, like, self-service gets really busy because no one can dry their stuff at home, so everyone's like bursting in at the weekends, particularly to kind of use the dryers and stuff, whereas in the summer, like I say, it goes really quiet. So we've had to really think on different ways of bringing people in and making sure that the income that we had was regular, so that we could pay our, like I say, for cash flow, like any small business. So the in-post box was kind of part of that. We knew that we had some space outside the front. And by having an in-post box there, it basically was another way of just getting us on the map. And it's another reason for people to come to us. It's a bit like, I previously had a history of working for a couple of corporate companies, and one of them was the National Lottery. And a long time ago, a lot of shopkeepers would sort of go on a list for a lottery station because they knew it brought people into their shop. And it's the same sort of thing with an in-post box. It's another reason to drive footfall. It's another reason for people to come there. And then, of course, if they didn't know you were there, they then will, So it's all about different ways of trying to drive people into the little parade of shops that we're in and see that we're there.
No, that's really
the in-post box itself is not a big, I've been asked this a few times in terms of you do get paid a certain amount of rent for an in-post box, but it's really about the fact that it drives your footfall.
Yeah. I like the idea of that creative idea that you're driving traffic to your laundrette and still, getting paid for your troubles. No, man, like this like laundrette business is, and I had a couple friends that wanted to ask a few questions about the actual laundrette. So where are you based?
In Southampton.
Does the prices differ from London to maybe the Midlands or up north of it?
They probably will, I would imagine, because things are, slightly more expensive down south in terms of rent and all the rest of it. I wouldn't be able to say definitely for sure. That takes some research. I mean, from our point of view, and again, it's another, I suppose, hopefully another sort of helpful thing is the fact that we have 10 other laundrettes in our city. So in terms of competition, it is really, really tough. And it's kind of like, well, if we can kind of still keep ours, that's make ours profitable, even in a town that's got so many laundrettes already, then it shows it can be done almost probably anywhere. But what we do in terms of our pricing is we obviously are very clear in terms of what our costs are. Like any business, you have to be, and particularly for a laundrette, because it's energy, of course, is one of literally like most expensive thing at the moment, and then of course on top of that you have staff who process the laundry. So there's sort of two more expensive things. So we have to be really clear in terms of making sure we're clear on what our costs are, and then and that's how you base your pricing. You've got to make sure all those costs are covered. And then our pricing is also worked out according to what the local rate is. So we obviously keep in line with what our competitors are charging as well, to make sure that, like I say, essentially we're competitive.
I heard you talk about in the winter it's more business than it is in the summer. So I see you touch, basically to me that shows like money management. How important is that when you're running a business?
It's probably, I don't know, it's got to be in your top three. Like I say, as a business owner, you're always wearing 20 different hats, but in terms of, you've always got to make sure that you've got enough money to be paying your bills, and it's not like I can go to the landlord and say, I haven't got the rent this month, or I can't go to the gas company and say I haven't got the money this month to pay the gas bill. So this was, like I say, part of the reason that we were led to kind of bring in other elements to the business, was so that we had guaranteed income, because the nature of self-service is that it's completely unpredictable. And I'm looking out the window now and seeing it's really sunny outside, and it's like, right, okay, well, if the next couple of weeks is going to continue to be sunny, I know that the shop is going to be really quiet and self-service. So it's like madly promoting all the other elements we do, to make sure that we've got money coming in to cover that. And so if you have a really good April and it's really sunny and self-service is really quiet, and we didn't have those other parts to our business, we'd be like, how the hell are we going to be paying our bills over the next few months? So it's, like I say, any business owner should be thinking about as many different income, ways of bringing income into their business as they possibly can, because it's the only way you can build resilience into your business. So money management is, like I say, within the top three of all the priorities. It's about, like I say, having regular cash flow.
Quick one. I know you're enjoying the show. This is only going to take a minute. Everybody keeps asking, Podge, where do I get the merchandise? Like, where can I get it? All right. If you see this on any platform, if it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, any social media, just message me. You can get this merch. You can get this hat. You can get this tea. I even got some cups. Yeah. And I got different flavors. So I got this flavor here and I got this flavor here. Just message me, man. I got you. Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree with that one. Another thing as well, because you have staff, like for somebody who's starting their business and who's never managed people, could you give some advice on managing people, hiring the right people as well?
Oh God, that's been, yeah, that's that's a challenge. That is, because it's quite some people think it's a really easy job, and in many ways it is. It's flexible. There's loads of great things to it. We kind of try to run it around, you can run it around kids and things like that, and we try to be as flexible as we can. But it's because you're ultimately, you're having to serve your customer, and the customer is absolutely number one. You have to work to what your customers' wants and needs are. So sometimes that's going to mean you've got to go and collect something, at 6 o'clock in the morning, before they go to work. You've got to be driven by what your customer wants, because that's, let's say, ultimately how you survive as a business, is by listening to your customers. So it's been a bit of a bumpy road, trying to find the right people, but we've got there. We've just recently, funnily enough, recruited someone else, and I'm sort of really excited because when you finally sort of find the right person for the job and it all sort of fits into place, it's another good thing that, to sort of see the business kind of running properly. And another thing that, like I say, you can sort of take off your list and think, right, okay, so whilst this is going on now, I can focus on, some of the other priorities that are going on. So I think generally as well, we just try to be decent people, be good be good by people, and do the right thing. And as a result, we seem to have got really good people working for us. So I wouldn't say I've got like a guidebook on it. I've had to learn as I go along and try and be just honest and fair with people.
No, that's good to hear. No, that's good to hear. I find when I speak to a lot of entrepreneurs like yourself, they say it's trial and tribulation. You got to kind of like figure it out sometimes as you go and see what kind of works for the business. So I understand what you're saying. Another thing, I heard you say collections. So what are the services you provide in your laundrette?
So we do collection and delivery. So we have a round of people in the local area that we will go around and do weekly laundry collections. So they'll either leave the laundry out for us, or we'll knock on the door and collect it, and then we'll have it back with them usually by lunchtime. And we do that on a, like say, weekly or 2 weekly basis, or like say equally, someone can just message me or book a sort of ad hoc collection, which I get a lot, actually. I get a lot of local hotels, travellers, things like that, so who will just kind of message me and ask for their laundry to be done. So yeah, that's what we offer. And again, because we have a regular group of customers, it means that the bills are paid, because we can guarantee that income. And it means as well that we have, because we have that going on, we have staff that are doing that. And that means as well that they're coming into the shop, they're keeping an eye on the shop, they're dealing with customers in the shop, because they're also processing the laundry of the collections at the same time. So it's all about having like an efficient system that's kind of making the most of all your equipment and keeping those machines running, whilst also making the most of, like I say, having good staff who can deal with customers and help them. And so it's become this kind of, I suppose, ecosystem in some ways.
Yeah, no, I hear that. If I'm in Southampton now and I wanted to use your service, what's the address and how can I contact you?
So we've got a booking system on Google. I'm on WhatsApp. You can just, again, drop me an email pretty much anyway. Call me. Dare I say it? I know it's a bit old fashioned now. People can call.
No, but people like that. People like that. People like that kind of communication, that transparency, that I can actually get on the phone and then and tell you what I need and what I want, and you can bring that service.
Yeah, I mean, I literally had someone email me at 9 o'clock last night. American tourist. She was in a hotel. Husband's gone into hospital. So she's going to be in the hotel. She's going to be here a bit longer. She's like, I've run out of clothes, and I was there at 8:30 this morning picking it up. It's your own business, so you are driven to, some people would think, God, that's, still picking up emails at that time of night. But when it's your own business, and you're building something, you want to, you're happy, you kind of do these things, and it's all part of the service that we offer. That's how we kind of differentiate ourselves, because we'll go above and beyond. We will offer that personal level of service. And that's how we've sort of, like I say, we've differentiated ourselves from the competition in the area, because as I said to you, there's quite a few laundrettes in the area, and people could choose to go to any other one. And so it's like we've sort of tried to show ourselves as giving that extra service, as being, that's why we're sort of different.
That's the conversation we have with entrepreneurs as well. And you got some people that got on a PAYE, is they might work till like 9 o'clock anyway at night, and then they hear an entrepreneur like, oh, you're still working at that time, but it feels different because it's yours. So you got a different level of passion for it, and it doesn't feel like it's grinding you down like if it was for somebody else, for instance. So I get what you're saying, and I understand it. And I think people who's watching this should take that on board. Is you're not going to clock off at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock. It can go on longer, but that's part of the process.
It is. When you're building something particularly, you've got to be prepared to put the time in. You've got to be prepared to put the work in. I won't pretend it's easy at all, but that's what differentiates those people. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it, you know, and it takes that sort of grit to kind of just keep your head down and keep going at it, to build it.
Have you ever had a 9 to 5 before yourself?
Yeah. I wasn't very good at it. Yeah, I worked in corporate, you know, in a couple of corporate companies in my 20s. Yeah, I worked in sales, you know, in that period of time, loved it and learned, you know, it's a lot of what gave me kind of the experience where I am now, but I wouldn't swap it now for doing what I do. Working for yourself is absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't pretend you have any balance in your life, as you've probably heard, but you make it work. You know, I've got a couple of kids and you know, you juggle and I make sure I'm kind of there at certain times. But I'm always prepared to kind of, you know, like I say, you've always got to also try and drive your business forward as well. So it's always a sort of like I say, you've got to navigate your way through it.
Yeah, the reason why I ask is because there's somebody there now who's in their 9 to 5 and they're thinking about doing that transition, making that pivot, but they're just scared. They're overthinking the idea. They feel like they haven't got all the pieces to the puzzle. What advice would you give somebody out there who wants to get into a laundrette business and they want to move forward, but they're just scared?
Ultimately, you know, I'm a great believer in kind of taking personal responsibility. You know, only you can make that decision to do it. And you can put every single excuse in the world as to why you don't want to. You have to sort of make the decision that you're going to do it and commit to doing it. Do your research, you know, as well as part of that. So I'd get out and start looking at local laundrettes. Just go and hang out. Go and take your washing in, you know, a couple of weeks to a couple of them. Chat to some of the owners. Watch how people are interacting in there. Then start looking on some of the kind of the websites, the sales websites. Businesses for Sales is a good place to start to see what's out there. Go and have a look. Go and look at, you know, go and do a viewing. And then you begin to get a feel of what the business is like, whether it would work for you, what the opportunities are. You begin to sort of spot things, you know, what kind of customers are in there, where the opportunities are. So you've got to commit to doing it, but also it's a case of taking some gradual steps to build your knowledge before you actually kind of take the plunge.
Yeah, no, I agree. I definitely agree, especially about just going out there, getting a feel for it. You know what I mean? Go into the actual places, sit down and see if this is something that you want to do. Quick one. I know you're enjoying the show. This is only going to take a minute. Everybody keeps asking, Podge, where do I get the merchandise? Like, where can I get it? All right. If you see this on any platform, if it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, any social media, just message me. You can get this merch. You can get this hat. You can get this tea. I even got some cups. Yeah. And I got different flavors. So I got this flavor here and I got this flavor here. Just message me, man. I got you. Another question we got as well. Some people, for instance, might be in a 9 to 5 and they might be in a relationship and they wanna tell their partner that, look, this is the idea I have and this is the vision I've got. I want to leave my 9 to 5 to execute this. Do you have any advice for anybody out there who feels like that?
I think, you know, I wouldn't just sort of quit my job and go and do it. I'd take the steps to begin to do it. Like I say, do the research, putting some money aside, try and figure out how you're going to, pay for it. But essentially, you need to kind of do your research in order to work out what your budget needs to be. So you've got to get out there and go and hang out in these places. One of the first things we did once we bought the laundrette was go and spend time in all of the laundrettes that we in our local area and chat to the other owners. And it's been a sort of an absolute kind of fountain of kind of knowledge, everything from finding engineers to tips about fixing machines to everything. So I can't emphasize enough in terms of, if you're interested, go and spend some time in these places and choose your times. It might be that you have to go and drop in a few times before you might find the owner in there, or you might find the staff in there. But go and spend time in the laundrettes, local laundrettes. And like I say, at that point, you're armed with the knowledge, and you've done your research so that you can actually commit to doing it. And that's the point where you would go to your partner or whatever and actually put your idea to them. At least then you've got evidence of the fact that you're genuine about it and that you can actually see the plan through.
No, that's good to hear. And that's really great advice, because if, say, I'm a guy out there and I want to present this to my partner, I'm glad you, as an entrepreneur woman, a successful woman, could say, look, tick all the boxes before you kind of bring it to the table. You know what I mean? So that will give them confidence to say, let me go and tick these boxes and then present it to you.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You've got to get your evidence, do your research.
No, that's good to hear. No, thank you, Leanne, man. I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your journey with the viewers and the people that watch this, man. I really appreciate your time.
It was a pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Let's get straight to it, people. I go by the name of Podgy Figures, and I want to thank everybody that's been watching my channel. However, I need you to subscribe to my channel. I need you to press that like button.